of the jobs ready to be pieces ready to go from my list, and I'm going to take the one from the front. So let's get this bag down and opened and see what we've got. Okay, so we have the bag here, and let's get opened and see what we're going to put together. Now, this is, I can tell you without actually opening it, I know what it is. This is some of the stuff that I worked out from a previous video where I was going through a book that I got on nature, British Nature. So what I've got here is I've written notes on this, mate, as I usually do, written notes on what's going to be my main part of the piece, or the bits where they're going to go. So I wrote in here, the bomb in the centre of a web, and mushrooms at the bottom. It's a hint to nuclear warfare, as in the film Threads. And the reason why I thought Threads is because at the beginning it has a little bit about society is held together by threads. It had like a little video of a spider weaving its web, and the delicate threads that hold society together. And so I was going to put the bomb in the middle of that, so it has a double meaning. You have that, what I just explained, but it also is about this danger in the middle of all of it, of this web that could pull it apart, and that exists in society. And here's the mushrooms to go here. Now I have the choice. Now I could have it being very off center and to the right, so that's one way of looking at things, or just have this part of the page, or I could have, because it's this split across two pages here, so I could have cut out a bit there as a flap to hold it onto, and I've got a marker pen to colour in where the black doesn't quite fit as well, and trim this here, and so it's still off to the right a bit, but it's not totally, really, it's a bit more central. So there is a thing of if it's right off to the right, then it really makes it sound like it's coming out of somewhere it shouldn't as well, and the mushrooms could go in the bottom there. Or I could have the mushrooms a bit more to the middle, right under where the bomb is, and it looks a little bit more central. What I could try do is I could just try and cut all this first and see if it works, and if it doesn't, then I've got that original idea to fall back on. So that's all this, and I shall gather my scalpel ready, and we shall cut all this up. Okay, so here we are. I've got my knife, and we'll see how well this is going to work. And also, very handily, I've got my ruler here, so I'll put that a bit more in the middle so it's easier to see. Ordinarily I'll worry about this kind of trimming afterwards, but it's a bit more makes it a bit easier to put stuff together. That slipped a bit, but I'll be okay. I'll trim it afterwards. At the very least, have the top and bottom be as it should be for when I try and put all this together. I'll still have to do some trimming, no doubt. Here we go with the right hand side flap, and this still has images I can easily use, so that'll be put to one side and to go back in the book to be ready. Sometimes I don't actually, sometimes I put these back in the books where they came from, sometimes I don't. They end up being like spares in a separate book, and sometimes that could be very handy, because it will help me when sometimes I look through that book of spares, and I'll see if then an idea comes to me from then on. I'm looking at that. Seems to have cut nicely. Again, that's kind of useful, that thing in the B. That bit's not. Sorry, if I wanted actually, So a bit more room. Keep the bee. And this will go and recycle. To be recycled. So that's that. That's that. And now we'll see if this works, shall we? So we've done an early bit of gluing for this. So actually I have the piece of paper that I was going to recycle anyway. So I'll make a nice glue pad. It's a shame about this picture of the fox, but it's the web is more, that's just this is more of a good picture. It's the spider web is more useful for the artwork, I'm afraid. It's a shame these things don't come only printed on one side, but they weren't thinking of this when they print this use when they printed them. So that's that there. I think it's kind of worked somewhat. I've got to get myself a bit of a black pen and I'll try and colour in where these bits are whited. It's not the right type of pen really. Let's see if this one should work. Just colour this bit in and smudge it a little. You did ever such a touch. Obviously it's not completely seamless, but it does its job. So that's that bit cut out there and glued, so that's good. That's one part of that job done. Like I said, I'm going to have to trim it straight afterwards, but that's fine. Put this to one side. Cut out the bomb, that won't take very long. Well, I've cut the bomb next, so it won't take very long. We've all got to cut it all out. In this image, this graphic I found of plane dropping bombs has been very useful because I've kept that and scanned in the bombs. Well, what I did is I made a sheet of these bombs one for use for another piece, and it just became useful in that regard. I'm always, it's kind of that work I do, I'm always going to have use of bombs, unfortunately, because that's our condition as a species. And I'll put the ruler on here, not just to make it straight, but just because it holds it down. Got something to cut against, because right now with it just sticking out like that, it's a little hard to do it without the paper folding underneath. So I'll try to do it again here, and that just cuts that bit out because it's a little close to the actual image. That's that there. So the bomb is going to sit. Oops, that bit didn't come off. The bomb is going to sit in the middle of the web there. That's all that cut off. And now the mushrooms. So first I shall get rid of anything I don't need. The thing is, will I use this? No. this just makes it easier for me to work with. Now, since these mushrooms are kind of buried in the grass a bit, I've got not much I can do with that. If I try and cut out there without the grass, it'll just look weird, it won't look right. So I'm going to keep that bit of the ground but round it down there and have it not too high up. So, and these are the mushroom clouds coming out of the ground as well. So a shape like this is going to cut very well as well. I know they're a bit spiky above there, so I'm going to not have them sticking at the top because that's just take too long to cut and be too fiddly. And if it's one of those things where if I get it right, it's great. If it's not, it's worse than if you hadn't actually tried. Because it would stick out like a sore thumb. So the title of this is going to be a bit of an inside, not joke because it's not a funny subject, but an inside wink to anybody who has actually seen the film Threads. So that's mainly a lot of people my age from here in the UK, because it was a made-for-TV film about nuclear war, and I'm not sure if it was an actual direct response to The Day After, but it came out afterwards. But for anybody who's watched the American nuclear war film that was made for, I can't remember, it might have been CBS, it was either CBS or PBS, I can't remember, and felt that was horrifying. Wait till you watch Threads, and it's basically considered one of the most traumatizing films of all time. I mean, the effects aren't all up to today's standards. They're all to the standards of the top of, say, like The Day After. The Day After had better effects, bigger names. But one of the things that really hit home more about the Threads was the fact that it didn't pull any punches in regards to things like nuclear winter, and it didn't have really big names. So having the big names kind of really took you out a bit out of the feeling of, oh, this could happen to you. It really felt more like not that it's a bad film, it's absolutely not a bad film, and it does tackle the subject somewhat, and it made the benefit of it really altered Reagan's perspective on the subject, because he watched it and saw as he watched it and got really depressed. So they had a bit of a win there in that regard. But like I said, Threads didn't pull his punches in its visuals. They actually managed to use actual nuclear mushroom craft footage, which the people in The Day After were not allowed to. They had to actually make their own. So this is why it seemed like it fit in a bit more. The footage that they used for Threads was it was obviously not filmed for that. So that's the only thing that makes it feel like it stands out. But Threads is brutal, basically. The Day After ends in a way that seems like people could rebuild. Threads, in no way, shape, or form, it looks like people try to carry on, but they've gone down to like medieval style existence and population sizes, and they that's even being a bit kind now. From what we know more about now about things like nuclear winter, it would last a lot longer. But yeah, and it also depicts what a nuclear explosion is a bit more like, where it's a heat flash, and the thermal radiation and the burns and how quickly people die, and are a lot more rough about showing the effects of radiation sickness, and later on what it would do to society for the people that did survive. So anyway, that's all cut now. So in a moment I shall be putting this together. Hello, so I'm back here. I've got my gluing book, although this is getting a bit rough because I've glued for more than just Pritt stick for this one, so I think I might end up having to use a different book. So I'll use the back of this one now. So because this is a bit rough actually, and it might mark the paper on the other side. So first I shall put the mushrooms in place, because that will determine a little about where I place the bomb, because it's going to be in the middle. But if I could put it, whether I put it there or there, I'll try and. I don't want it too close to the mushrooms, but I want it to be still be kind of in the center of the web, but I want it to be as far away as I can. So I don't want it to be right on top of them, which means I'll be putting these as low as I can, which is fine because I don't want too much of the grass there. So I think this works a bit, and I can get them a bit more central that way. A bit central, as opposed to having them all the way there and the bomb be on the right. I mean, so it means that this shows a bit more of the bomb dropping on. It's like where these are. So I'm trying to move them up to the right a bit more. Actually. Now here it shows where the glue's already been down on the paper, but this kind of glue is good. It's water soluble like that, so it wipes off very easily, which is one of the benefits to using Pritt stick. And I've noticed a little bit I need to trim off, but I can still do that if I'm careful about it. There you go. And this is a pure black background. I would just use a black marker pen and cheat, but this is more greeny black. This is why these bits we're here haven't well put in black. It's a little noticeable, but it's one of those things where I'll decide. I'm going to scan this in. This will most likely be going in the book that I'm going to starting to put together, which means I was going to do a section. It's going to be a section in it on nuclear war, and this was originally going to be 6 or 7 pages, or 6 or 7 images, and it's currently like about 13. So this is in probably about 14. So, and they're all images I want to put in. So that section is going to be a bit longer, but it shows how important this subject is to me. So that's all that there. And now what I'm going to do is, if I can find the right pen, I'm going to sign this somewhere. So since most of it's dark, I'm going to have to sign it inside the mushroom. So this pen's not very good for this, but let's see if a pencil. But it finished the number 5 a lot easier with a pencil. That'll do. And so I've got the title in here. Threads. That's like that. And if I still wanted to use a picture of a fox or for something, I could scan it in and do it digitally. So now there's a time to trim off. The glue on the back of the mushroom is still a bit wet, but going to do the other bits while I'm waiting for it to dry a bit more. I just want you to see the actual finished bit before I sign off. And then I shall also scan it in immediately to be used for the book. I'm quite pleased with this piece, because you know, any watching here that are collage artists, and I assume you will be, or you won't be watching this, you must have had some pieces that you got this idea in your head, or even when you put them together, come out with the material and see what it looks. It doesn't quite look as well as you planned it out, even with the images in front of you. But this, I feel, has. I mean, I've got the choice now. I could tidy this up a bit, because actually this doesn't line up as well as it should. But what can you do? People expect this kind of thing of collage anyway. So let me know what you think, whether you like this piece. I've already let you know that I do. Just like, share, and subscribe. My description has my link tree in it, which has my merch links and my socials. And I shall speak to you soon. Thank you.